Okay, so we've got our scene set up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into modeling, and I'm going to click on the camera to see what we're seeing. So here we've got it. I'm going to bring up the timeline, so if you just get that little X, you can bring up another window, and I'll make this the timeline. Okay, so now we can skip forwards and back, and we can see that that's pretty well, there's no drift on it, so it's pretty good. I'm just going to position this so that this is, in a good point, and then let's take this, take this object and stick it up in the air, and yeah, we can see that this is kind of like, this is looking pretty good. It's not a complicated object, but it doesn't need to be. So let's have a look and see what it looks like rendered. So it kind of doesn't look great because there's no shadow, and we want that. And this thing here, this thing's called a shadow catcher. And so when we go on here, we should be expecting to see a shadow, but we don't. And the reason is because the ground here is in the background and everything else is in the foreground. So we need to grab that, chuck it into the foreground. And now we're getting a shadow. Shadow is in a bit of a weird place because we've got the light and the light is over there. And we need to kind of move that in the right place. So I'm just going to sort of move it so it's like outside. And that kind of looks all right. And I'm going to soften it. So just go to the light itself. Just here, increase the radius. It's looking a bit weird because we're using Eevee, which is like a graphics card renderer, and that's something we need to change now. So we're going to go to cycles. Well, that's kind of looking better, but we've still got this annoying block. We're also sort of running out of space on it, so we're going to need to do some kind of movement on it. So I'm just going to go into edit mode, pressing tab on here, and I'm going to grab the edges of this, because what we want to do is we want to take this and we want to make this nice and big, and take the edge of that, leave it over there because I want it to be literally replacing the ground. Take this over here, and now we're kind of in business. Okay, but we're still not seeing what we're supposed to be seeing. And why is that? Well, the thing is because when we go into here, we need to be able to see the transparency. And so what we want to do is go into here, click on transparent, and then it will show everything we're seeing. All of these bits are a bit confusing, so I'm going to turn those off. Floor, X and Y, and also this is not matching, and it's kind of like, what's going on? Well, the reason is because the actual background layer, the bit with the footage in it, is shown like half kind of like opacity. So we go to camera, and we go to the camera properties. So just click on that. We go to out of edit mode. Sorry. So into object mode. Click on the camera, and then we go to the camera properties, background images, and then we make sure that's 100%. And now we can see that everything looks good. Okay. And if we want, we can play around with our object, and it's kind of, I'll just put a bevel on it or something, just to make it a bit more interesting. No, not build, a bevel, a bunch of segments. So now that looks kind of interesting, and then you can change the color of it, and kind of, I'm going to make it subsurface. So now that when we render this, so we go render and render image, it will kind of do all of the passes. It will take a while because we're kind of integrating kind of footage and stuff like that. But what you can do is you can render this out as a sort of a still image, and then what you'll get is you can get this stuff that you can sort of composite it in kind of After Effects and kind of get the color matching and all that kind of stuff done right. It is possible to do it in Blender, but it is a little bit difficult. So what I'll do is I'll render out like a small sequence, and we can see what this looks like. Okay.